Day two at Euro 2024. My name's Mark Donaldson alongside Gab Marcotti. It's the boys on tour. I'm in Bonn, the old capital of West Germany. Gab's in Berlin, the new capital of Germany. And we've been watching Italy against Albania. And how nervous were you when 23 seconds in, the Albanians decided to score the opening goal, Gab?
Yeah. I would say pretty darn nervous because given the competition in this group, obviously you need to take points from Albania. Otherwise, you're not going through. And this doesn't just apply to Italy. Obviously, it applies to Croatia and Spain because if they don't take points from Albania, then they may well not go through. So I still don't know if it was a brain fart from Di Marco, if it was the ball slipping out of his hands, as somebody charitably suggested. But we set a record, right? Quickest goal in the history of the Euros, 23 seconds. Well done by Rami.
Something else that was outstanding was Italy's response. My goodness, they didn't let that affect them, and they came back with a flourish, did they not?
Yeah, I think that first half, Italy, we'll get to it. I'm sure we'll certainly drop in the second. But they did come back with a flourish. And look, anybody who's followed this team knows that it's imperfect, right? There are some very good midfielders. And Spalletti, to his credit, decided to, I think, play a bolder lineup, without a ball winner like Cristante, sort of going, Jorginho and Barella and Pellegrini. And Frattesi, of course, these are all ballers, right? And he's doing this because the strikers, beyond Scamacca and Chiesa, there's not much there. And on top of that, he was also bold in playing two left-footed center backs, right? Calafiori, I think this is his second or third cap. That was rewarded too. So I like the fact that, unlike the Italy of the past, not so much the last Euros, but certainly the stereotype of Italy, they said, let's not go safety first. Let's try to outplay the opposition. And look, it's easier to do when it's Albania as opposed to when it's Spain. But they went for it, and I think what you people like to say is the finishing let them down. Is that the term your people use?
My people. Yeah, we're not talking football after last night. By the way, how good was Pellegrini's delivery for Bastoni's header?
I pinpoint. Look, these guys can play. Like, Italy are producing technical players. They all have, other than Barella, who I don't want to say he's flawless, but can be. Look, they're all. Pellegrini's issue is he gets injured and he's not consistent, and his head drops. Especially when Mourinho is around him, because Mourinho is like his kryptonite, which wasn't so great when he was his coach at Roma. But they have their moments. Chiesa as well. I was WhatsApping with our colleague Tom Hamilton, who of course is at the game, and he wasn't overly impressed with Chiesa. Whereas I thought Chiesa was really good. This is what Chiesa does. He plays like this when he's fit, which unfortunately hasn't been very often. I think Italy absolutely need a fit Chiesa, and a Chiesa who plays like what we saw in the first 45 minutes if they're going to do anything in this tournament. And they need to finish better, of course.
They do. There was a VAR check for the second goal. Looked like it was just onside the fullback. It was a nice strike by Barella. And to turn it around pretty quickly, what did that tell you about the Italian mentality, having had that early shot?
I think it was just so extreme, the way... the way the goal happened, that it's almost easier to write off, right? When you just make such a colossal blunder, I think it's easier to move on from that than when the opposition scores a goal through build-up or whatever. You don't question yourself. You say, all right, we just laid an individual egg. Or an individual turd, is probably more appropriately here.
It's that time of night. We're allowed to say that now, aren't we?
You are allowed to say that. I'm pretty sure. And that shout out, by the way, to former Derby County striker Mario Turdo, the Argentine.
Really? You're going there?
It's a dude's name, man. What do you want me to say?
It's got nothing to do with Italy, Albania, though.
it is easier to Mario's an Italian name, I'll have you know. It is easier to bounce back in those conditions, and I think Albania also kind of invited the pressure a little too much. Look, I know
Yeah, they did.
I don't want to say it's a rerun of the Scotland game, but
Wasn't far off it, was it? Because they sat so deep. They didn't know what to do, did they? It was a bit like, I mean, Scotland took the lead against Brazil in 1982. David Neri's Topo. We had no idea what to do. It just angered them. Did the early goal anger Italy?
I think it did. I think it did, but we forced them to kind of realize, all right, let's go and wrap this up. Funny you should mention 1982 because I ran into Alex McLeish outside the stadium yesterday. I had a lovely chat with him, and of course, as my Aberdeen supporting friends always remind me, is had Alex McLeish played alongside the legend that is Willie Miller in 1982, then instead of that Alan Hansen fella nobody's ever heard of, then Scotland would have definitely won that World Cup. But I don't want to bring back bad memories from when we were.
And we're meant to be talking Italy against Albania. What did you make of Albania tonight? Because here in Bonn, it's probably, I don't know, it's by train, it's under an hour to get to Dortmund. There was a number of Albanians here making a heck of a noise, and they couldn't really believe what had happened to their side to take the lead. But you have all these eventualities. What happens if this happens? But until it actually happens and you score a goal, it was just like, it wasn't the worst thing that could have happened to them because it was the best thing that could have happened, which became the worst because they had no idea what to do after that. And they just got closer and closer to Strakosha and their own goal.
It felt like, all right, we've taken the lead. Let's sit deep and let's see, maybe we can get something on the counter. Strakosha is an outstanding goalkeeper.
Yes.
We create density in front of the goal. They have all these little guys running around. If we've got bodies there, we'll stop them. And look, I think as a game plan, it wasn't terrible. But the problem is you can't sit off so deep that these midfielders, if they have time and space, they can punish them. I mean, they're not Kevin De Bruyne. They're not going to hit like a defense splitting pass when they have three people on top of them. But if you give Pellegrini a little bit of time, if you give Frattesi a little bit of time, if you give Jorginho time and you don't go press him, which I thought was kind of unforgivable, then they can pick you out and they can create chances. And I also want to give a shout out to Scamacca. I thought obviously he didn't score, and you can point to the chances that he missed. I think at least two come to mind. But I thought he worked tirelessly. He was unselfish. He was very, very clever. He opened up space for his teammates, which is exactly what you're supposed to do.
Playing a game with you now, you've seen all four Group B teams. Never mind the result, just performance-based. Give me a 1 top to 4 bottom of the 4 teams that you saw today, with Croatia losing to Spain 3-0 earlier in the day.
So with the caveat that neither Spain nor Italy, I thought, put in a 90-minute performance. And you can argue that Spain didn't need to. Fair enough.
No.
I would argue that I would put Croatia at the bottom. I was really disappointed. I thought the approach from Dalic to that game was wrong. Even though they had chances before Spain scored. And then I would second from bottom, I have to put Albania, because you can't be gifted a goal like that and then continue playing the way you did. And again, I thought Italy were really, really good for 45 minutes, an hour. Spain, I thought, did better than that.
They were good. Yeah, they were really good. So Spain getting off to a flying start. Italy, I mean, the second half, it just petered. You always felt like it was big brother, little brother in the backyard, and it was just, they were always at arm's length, the Albanians. There was a bit of a nervy moment right in the 90th minute, though, Gab, when the ball was played right across the face. Hearts and mouths for you?
Very much. Ray Manai getting away. I thought that was maybe the only misstep Calafiori made in the game. I thought Calafiori was exceptional. I mean, that whole left side, Calafiori, Di Marco, other than his mistake, obviously, I thought they did a lot of damage on that flank. And in fact, looking at that, I wonder, man, if maybe he'd gone with Manai earlier, then because regular viewers will know that I love my Armando Broja, but he always lets me down. I'm glad he let me down today. but that was not a good performance from him at all. And I was a bit surprised that Silvinho waited so long to bring on Manai, who at least gives you something a little bit different, especially when you're chasing a game like that.
We will be previewing England's opener against Serbia very shortly with James Ollie, who'll be joining us. I just want one final word. I want to talk fashion. Now, I can't really talk, given the fact this looks like the patterns you get from an 80s disco ball, this thing I'm wearing. But it's Spalletti. He's got this beautiful suit. And then he's
Gab Jules gear. Look.
That's all right. That's company man.
Yeah,
but what's with the stuff on the back of Spalletti's suit? I mean, I can't be having that. It's sartorial elegance. Does that count, or is that just too far? Fashion faux pas.
It's very fashion forward, right? Well, it brings together, the old style sort of 1960s sort of zip. Yeah, exactly. With the suit. Why not? Open your mind, open your horizons.
Oh, I'll open it. I was wearing a skirt yesterday, as they called it, my kilt and everything like that. But hey ho, each to their own.
You had your sporn too?
Of course, I had everything. Well, except one thing, but we don't need them when we wear a kilt, do we? Anyway, we've gone from 1982 to what's under kilts. You've had your rude word and everything like that.